Well, first I want to thank the gentlelady from the Virgin Islands, Congresswoman Plaskett, and the gentleman from Texas, Mark Vesey, for hosting tonight's special order hour on such an important topic, racism and discrimination. But before I begin, I want to take a moment to mark the one-year anniversary of the Pulse nightclub shooting and to remember the 49 lives that were cut short in the deadliest mass shooting in our nation's history. As we grieve for the victims and their families, we must continue to stand in solidarity with the survivors and with the LGBTQ community against hate, intolerance, for love, in support of our nation's values of equality and dignity for all. The kind of intolerance and hate and violence on display that day in Orlando has become an alarming trend in this country, a trend that has disturbingly been fueled by President Trump. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, 37% of the 1,094 bias-related incidents in just the first month after the election of the reference to President, his campaign slogans, or his remarks about sexual assault. As he did throughout his campaign, President Trump continues to speak the language of racial and cultural grievance, pitting Americans against one another and perpetuating the viciousness he pretends to despise. The result is what you would expect: a spike in hate crimes and hate speech. I've seen in my district in New Jersey where anti-Semitic graffiti was plastered on a pedestrian bridge, and we've seen it at American University, just down the road at the National Museum of the African American History and Culture, whose nooses were found last month, Communities of color know this pain all too well. And Mr. Speaker, I am really fortunate to be able to discuss an issue of such importance to this nation. This is one nation under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. You know, I have been very fortunate in my life to have been born into a situation where a great American prior to me held this seat for 23 years at the 10th Congressional District of the state of New Jersey. His name was Donald Payne. He was my father. And he afforded me a lifestyle, one of which I did not know of his suffering and pain growing up as a young African American in this country, but have, even in that situation, have found myself, irrespective of being in that position, found myself in situations that have been dangerous and uncomfortable. As a young 20-year-old, when we're 20, we do things that we probably shouldn't be doing at times. I was on my lunchtime going downtown to pay a bill at a department store where I had my first credit card, and I was running late, so what I decided to do was make a U-turn on the main street, Broad Street, in Newark, New Jersey, which is the largest street in the town. And I made a U-turn to come in front of this store, and naturally, with my luck, a motorcycle police officer was coming down the street at the same time. So he pulled me over, as he should, and I was wrong. But I was using my cousin's car, and so when he asked me for my license and registration, I could not find the papers that I needed, and I was fumbling and nervous, and the officer leaned into the car and used the N-word and said, if you don't find those documents in a minute, I'll throw you so far under the jail that they'll never find you. So this is very frightening for any citizen to go through. So I was able to get my license, and I handed it to him. So just before that, they would throw me so far under the jail that they would never find me again. Once I handed him my license, and it said that I was Donald Payne, Jr., whose father was a sitting councilman in the city of Newark, his whole attitude changed. Don't you know that you could get hurt, or you could hurt someone, or you had to be careful? A minute ago, I was nothing. I would be so far under the jail they would never find me. But now that I'm connected to something or someone, all of a sudden, we've become paternal. There are millions of people that aren't connected to someone, Mr. Speaker, in this country. Millions. And these are the types of things that they go through. So I'm just here to say that we must be vigilant. I believe in this country. I believe in its greatness. I believe in the words in the Pledge of Allegiance. I believe in the Constitution. We must make it work for all Americans. And with that, I yield back.